But it's no more than when the New Agers will claim that they're Christian. We've had people on this show who were New Agers who claimed they were brought up Christian. We're going to talk about that next time. But they were far from being Christians. They were basically New Agers and sometimes Satanists with a mask that dubbed themselves or described themselves as Christian. So they are basically led to dark places by personifying Jesus as, in a lot of the New Age circles, as an ascended master, a high spirit. And the experience they have with Christ isn't the same as a Christian. Theirs is a spiritual awakening, or like you said, the enlightenment or the illumination that transcends the truth of the divine person known as God to encounter a divinity, a divine of within yourself. They believe that you can become God. And even if you believe in an external God, it becomes a vague, abstract concept of some universal mind. It is a counterfeit to the true relationship of a real person of God, the Spirit that's holy, separate from his creation, but that created everything and gave us life, and gave us, put us in his image, in the image of him, his likeness. It doesn't mean that we are gods. It means that he gave us his image of his personal, his personality, that we have a will and we think and we have the principles of God embedded in us.
We're created in his image.
Right. We're created in his image, but we don't always act in his image. And if you're not in Christ, you are far from that image because you can't represent it. You have been separated from that image. Even if you do all the good in the world, you're not doing it for Christ. You're doing it for yourself. You're doing it for humanity. You're doing it for maybe your other practices, New Age, maybe just to be a good New Age person. You could be a really good moral atheist, but that doesn't make you a Christian because you don't believe in Jesus and you don't believe in God per se. But what we find as a common is that New Age often defaults to the belief of agnosticism. And I talked about Gnosticism, which is the knowing, to know. Agnosticism, when you put an A in front of it, it means not to know. So agnosticism means they don't really know. But they claim there's two forms of agnosticism. One form is if you ask somebody if they believe in God and they go, well, I don't think anybody does. I don't know. I don't know who God is. That's agnostic. But an atheist who says, or someone who says, I don't know who God is and you don't either because no one can know, that's called hard agnosticism. You're not just denying you don't know, you're denying it for anybody. Like no one can know. You're basically denying that anybody has a relationship with Jesus Christ.
They need to read Romans 1:20.
Yeah. Yeah, they're without excuse. And they could see the things that are made by the invisible, by the things that are present, by the things that they could see.
And the other verse is, the fool hath said in his heart, there is no God. Yeah. Consider the human ear, and the eye and the ear is just so complex. It's impossible to have come a result of,
Well, the results that we see of creation is, it would be we don't want to go into this, but it would be an impossibility or a very, very, very high it would have to be a high probability to have the complexity in just the DNA cell that we have in order for it to be a random creation without any kind of intelligence or any being behind it. There are, in New Age and these dark arts, one thing that is done by eyewitnesses that they tell me is that they have been introduced to summoning dark entities, and they practice meditation, and it's called transcendental meditation in New Age, by understanding abstract, vain philosophies as something of value. You'll often hear in their circles these weird, far out explanations of things that if you and I were listening, Darren, we might be confused and saying, what is this gobbledygook? But at the same time, they merge science with it. And sometimes they come up with a lot of weird things that sound like it's plausible.